Hello, hello, Joe. How are you doing?
Hi, Howard. Good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Can you hear me okay and see me okay? Yeah.
I can hear you perfectly. I can see you.
Fantastic.
Everything okay on my end?
Absolutely perfect. Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much for your
Good.
time. I really appreciate you coming on the show for a
Oh my
chat.
gosh, no, thank you for having me. This is a great opportunity. Thank you.
Uh-huh. I'm going to sort of conversation on a fantastic movie, a fantastic book. It's great. I loved it so much. So good.
Oh,
And
thank you.
it's so great to hear that. Well, I know that you'd already released a sequel, and there's also a third one on the way. So I can't wait to read those as well. That's fantastic.
Thank you. It's been really fun to write them.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. So, before I actually speak about the book, I'm really curious about how the book has come to be the version that it has now, because I know that despite a lot of uh, people saying, or online people saying that the self-publishing is not the best way to go because it's really difficult for it to get noticed. You went against the grain there, and you decided, right, I'm going to publish it myself and see what happens. And it worked. So I'm quite curious, just briefly, can you kind of explain what made you decide to self-publish first of all, rather than try to find a publisher? And then how did you get lucky and get this deal?
Sure, yeah. It's kind of complicated. I there are a lot of reasons why I decided to self-publish. First of all, I was writing a zombie novel and I had heard over and over again that, oh, zombies are over. There's people aren't publishing these anymore, which
Yeah,
is fine. But I was obsessed with zombie books and I had been reading them one after the other for years on Kindle Unlimited, and all of my favorite zombie books had been self-published.
right,
And so I was thinking, well, this makes sense for me. And I did throw a couple of queries out there. I think I queried maybe 18 agents, and a lot of times it takes 100,
yeah,
200 of those to catch an agent. And after 18, I was like, you know what? I don't think this is for me. And so I hired an editor, I hired a cover artist, and I just put it out there myself. And sales, were slow. And so
yeah,
I started reaching out to people I thought could help me. So looking at different TikTok pages and Instagram pages for readers that were reading things like what I had written,
right.
who might be interested in giving it a shot and posting it to their accounts. And so I found those influencers, and they left me reviews, and those reviews turned into more opportunities, and eventually it turned into a book deal.
Yeah, oh, that's great. I'm quite curious that you said that you reached out for an editor. That in itself must be quite a complicated process, because you need to know someone that you can trust with kind of the style that you want, because you want to release your own voice through your books now. So I'm quite curious how you decided on which editor to go with.
Oh my gosh, this was such an easy decision for me.
Yeah,
I ended up going with Kay Daly, and I had worked with Kay previously. We had a job at a nonprofit together. She was working as a writer editor, and I was working as an education consultant for and it's
right.
at the nonprofit. And so she had been editing my work at our job previously. And then after I ended up leaving that job, I wrote a lot of nonfiction. So I completed a curriculum, and she ended up, which I also self-published and then sold.
Right.
The different story. Um, but she ended up editing that nonfiction work for me. And so we
Right.
had already built a relationship of editing for years, and I trusted her, and she understood my voice, and she could, help me shape things the way that I needed to shape them without jumping in with her own voice, and she taught as she edited. So I knew she was the right person to keep going with me, and so she stayed with me through the whole
Yeah.
process.
And beside the editor, I imagine you have a few beta readers to help you through the process as well, no? Was that close friends, family, or did you prefer to go with someone a bit further away for a bit more kind of critical, constructive criticism?
You know what's funny is I don't do beta readers.
You don't?
I don't. I did have one other reader. I had a manuscript reviewer. Her name is Lillian Boyd, and she was the first person to ever read it. And I found her on a website called Readsy, and we ended up being a great match for each other. And so she provided me some, developmental edits, did a sensitivity read for me, and working with her was unbelievably great. She was amazing. But I was really hesitant to engage people that um that I guess I'm a people pleaser
Right.
by nature. And so if someone gives me feedback, my first instinct is to think, oh, they must be absolutely correct. And so
Right.
knowing myself in that way, I knew that I needed to limit the number of opinions that were gonna be poured into this book, or else I would lose myself and my voice in it. And so having that very curated set of editors was important to me. So narrowing that down to Lillian, who I just met through that process, and then Kay, of course, who I'd known for a long time and trusted. That's how it went, and that's kind of how I've continued. I really don't use beta readers for that
Yeah.
reason.
Uh-huh. I mean, I'm quite a person pleaser myself, and also very kind of much of a perfectionist. So if anyone criticizes, even with the best intentions, it's difficult sometimes, and I really kick myself sometimes. So I'm quite curious how you are when it comes, like you said that you sent it to your work to kind of influence those kind of things, and they give feedback. But for someone who's a writer who's and really kind of putting their very personal things onto the page, I'm quite curious how you deal with that.
Oh, the reviews and things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Unpopular approach, but like Howard, I read every single
you do.
review. I
Even though you
do.
even though you're a
I
people
do.
pleaser, that sounds like the worst thing. It's like a
I know
massacre.
you're not supposed
Yeah.
to. I know, I know. But I do. I read the reviews, and I don't know why. I don't really have a great wise reason for it. It's probably not helpful, but
Probably not very healthy, yeah.
but it for me, it is helpful to hear people's thoughts. I'm always looking for opportunities to improve. And so if someone has something scathing to say, or, is really passionate about, their review and why, or how something was wrong or not to their liking, like
Yeah.
I want to listen to it. I want to hear. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And luckily I don't think I have yet, but like that's important to me. And so I'm looking and trying to keep hold of the barometer there and just make sure that I'm, doing okay, I guess.
Mhm.
That's
Well, you've done a good job, I think, at least in my humble opinion, you have. So
Oh,
listen,
thank you.
coming back to the books, then I'm quite curious. I mean, you mentioned that you work also. I'm not sure if you actually worked in a residential treatment center yourself, but the book is set in a residential treatment center, and I'm guessing that a lot of your other job played into a lot or informed a lot of kind of the reason of the setting for the book more than anything. But also, this feels like one of the most psychological zombie books that I've read in a big way, which I really appreciate because I studied psychology as a degree as well. So I really
Yeah.
appreciated that. So I'm quite curious how much of your job informed you writing this book and specifically setting at least the first part of the book in where you set it.
Yeah, yes. My career definitely influenced this book. So like you said, it's a book about 12 girls who are living in a locked juvenile residential treatment center when the zombie apocalypse hits. And so that location was important to me. I have worked in residential treatment before.
Right.
It was my first job out of college, my first like grown-up job. And it was a rough year. I worked there while I was in graduate school getting my social work degree. Um, and so I am a licensed mental health
Right.
professional. I've got a master's degree in social work and a license to practice therapy in Illinois. And I've worked with a lot of teenagers. I worked in Chicago public schools as a school-based therapist. And so, um, I've of course, none of the characters are based on actual
Sure.
people. That would be horribly unethical.
Yeah.
Um, but my experiences in that treatment center and my experiences working with teenagers who are troubled, who are going through a lot, it definitely influenced how I approach the book and the
It really
themes
comes
that you will
through. Yeah.
see. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So my career absolutely influenced the things that people will read on the page.
Mhm. At the same time, obviously, I don't want to give too much away, but Quinn, the main character, the protagonist, is someone that
Mhm.
we hate to love to love, hate to hate at the same time, all at the same time. That was how did you kind of gauge that and kind of create that? Because obviously, I don't want to give it away, but when it comes to the apocalypse, her reaction is very different to anything that I've ever read before about how someone reacts to that kind of thing. So I'm quite curious how you approached Quinn in terms of gauging just how to balance the love-hate relationship that the reader has with her.
Sure. Yeah, she's a bit of an anti-hero, isn't
Yeah,
she?
just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I loved writing her because she is so completely opposite of everything that I am, that there were points in writing her where I had to think, okay, what would I do? And then just write the exact opposite
Right.
thing. Because and that was part of the fun, and that's part of the process that I wanted the reader to go through is I wanted them to step into the shoes and into the mindset of someone that they had never experienced before. And I don't think it's too much to say. I think we learned pretty early that, Quinn doesn't feel things the way that other girls do. She's often accused in the book of being a psychopath, of being a sociopath, and that she's too young to be diagnosed with a
Yeah.
personality disorder at this point. But all roads, and she reads her own chart and understands like, oh, this is what they think of me. Am I this
Yeah.
way? Like, is this me? And should I lean into it? And what is that about? And so, she kind of explores that. Through this book and through the series. And I don't think that's too much of a spoiler, but like you said, um, she acts in ways that are a little bit that would absolutely be shocking in the real world, right? But
Yeah.
this is the zombie apocalypse, and it turns out
Mhm.
that, being able to kill without remorse and, lie without a tell and plan a long con, like these are the things that just might keep you alive in the zombie apocalypse. And so I think that this story kind of flips the survivor trope on its head a little bit. We
Mhm.
often see like the tough guy military surviving in the zombie apocalypse, but this time we get a teenage girl who's been through, life.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And also, I'm quite curious how you decided on which was it always intentionally that you were going to write primarily from Quinn's perspective throughout the book, or did you also maybe consider maybe some of the older people, some of the professionals working at the center? Was that ever in your mind? Was that ever in your plan to maybe do anything like that?
That is so funny that you asked me that because that was one of my biggest fears when I turned this over to an editor was, oh my gosh, they're going to tell me that I told the story from the wrong perspective. Like,
No, no, I didn't.
what?
I don't think that at all or anything like that. I was just curious because
Yeah.
there is a real difference between the younger people actually almost feel more adept in this situation than the adults in this story. So that was why I was quite curious if you had considered that telling it from that side of the story as well.
After I finished the book and I had, gotten a complete draft and I had been through it a few times, that was the point where I started to kind of question that. Like, should I have Keisha's perspective in there too?
Right.
But then I thought, that gives away too much. And if we only see it through Quinn's perspective, if we have her with blinders on, that's I think how it's the only way the twist works at the end. And
Uh-huh.
obviously
And
no
also,
spoilers.
just to interrupt you, also, I love the fact
Mhm.
that you have Quinn. She's a real person reader as well. She can read people really well. And I think that kind
Mhm.
of helps you not have to tell the other perspectives. And that worked really well. It worked really, really very much in favor of the book.
Thank you for noticing that. Thank you. Yeah, Quinn's a little bit of an anomaly, right? Like you think sociopath, you think psychopath, and you think, oh, we, must not feel any empathy. But Quinn can read people.
Yeah.
She understands what people are feeling.
Hmm.
She just, doesn't
Hmm.
really mind.
Yeah.
Um, so I think, yeah, and that's the thing about mental health and these diagnoses and the danger of, putting a label on someone is that people are whole people with whole worlds inside of them, and nothing
Yeah.
is like everyone is unique. And so, putting Quinn in a box in book one is dangerous. So I
Yeah.
invite readers to hang tight and keep going. But uh but yeah, she's she's got a little bit of depth, and I'm excited for readers to unpack
Mhm.
that. That's another reason why I do like to read the comments and the
Right.
reviews, because people have such mixed feelings about her.
Yeah.
They
Sure.
love her, they think she's a badass. They hate her and they wish they never read the book, or they feel like, oh, what a lost lamb, and I
Hmm.
wish I could just help it. So it's fascinating to watch people unpack their reactions.
Yeah. No. I mean, those are the best reads, but they make the best movies as well. The ones that incite debate and kind of controversy are the ones that last the longest, and people tell other people to read because they want to know what they think about certain characters or certain kind of plot points and things like that. Yeah, absolutely. A couple to that last question. So I said that she can read people quite well. She's learned this. I don't think it's a spoiler of this, that she's learned this through reading a lot of autobiographies while she's at the center now. I'm quite curious if when you're writing your characters, you dip into autobiographies to kind of help you find voices for different characters.
Oh, I didn't this time, but now that you mention it, I might. Uh, no, for Quinn, I would take recommendations in a heartbeat. For people who might be able to help me jump into that kind of brain. I'm fascinated um by the different ways people's brains work, and how yeah, I obviously I'm a fellow psychology lover.
Yeah.
Um, but I will say that one of my inspirations for Quinn was definitely Dexter, the
Right.
Showtime show.
Came to mind quite a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really loved how in that story, and of course it was, the book series first.
Yeah.
But what I really loved is that, Dexter had a father who taught him,
The
how
code.
to
Yeah.
look normal and be normal and, like, yeah, follow the code. Um, but Quinn didn't have parents who taught her.
Right.
She had an institution who, and her big motivator was, I can't spend the rest of my life in places like this. I have to learn how to act right so I can get out. And
Hmm.
so that was kind of her motivation. But definitely Dexter inspired Quinn a lot.
Uh-huh. And I'm quite curious about the rest of the characters, especially the other. I don't like to call them patients, but the other
The residents, yeah.
the other residents. Yeah, because patient doesn't sound right. The other residents. I'm quite curious how like you said, you didn't want to base it on anyone because that would be completely unethical. So I'm quite curious what kind of research and what kind of decisions helped you to decide what kind of other residents would follow Quinn on this journey.
Sure. Yeah. Just having worked in high schools and the residential treatment center, there's never one kind of person who ends up in a place like that. And there's
Hmm.
never one reason. And it's very complex. And so I wanted to make sure that I had a diversity of characters. And when I say diverse, it's not just in race and
Yeah.
gender and identity and sexuality, but um, I wanted diversity in intellectual capabilities, in diagnoses, in neurodivergence, and so um, I I don't think I specifically diagnose anyone with anything official in the book.
No,
Just
no.
I wanted to leave that open to interpretation.
Yeah.
But I definitely wanted to give that broad perspective of it, it's it's diverse.
Yeah,
So
but that
yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but was that did you think about the diversity of each person specifically related to the zombie apocalypse so that it kind of the it made sense that they suffered these specific diversities to make the story to kind of to help the story along as well.
I came up with the characters first
Right,
and then let the apocalypse happen to them on the page. I'm
right.
much more of a pantser than a plotter.
Mhm.
I'm not a plotter at all, if I'm being honest. I couldn't write an outline to save my life or my characters' lives.
But
But
you're not alone. Most of the people, as most of the authors I speak to, are all pantsers as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's more fun that way, I think.
Yeah, sure. It's more organic. So
Yeah.
you created them all before that, and then you just kind of let the apocalypse do what it wanted to do to them. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And the apocalypse happens to them. So,
Brilliant.
yeah.
And what about the professionals in the center as well? I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, like again, you worked in places like that, so you had plenty of kind of information. But at the same time, they, like I said, they didn't feel as capable of dealing with what happens, even though they're the ones in charge. So I'm quite curious how what informed you to choose the type of staff that were
Mhm.
working there, because they don't come across as the most competent people
Mhm.
in the place.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. They're not. You know, I think as we get a little bit older, we lose some of our whimsy, we lose some of our,
Right. They
imagination, and
come
we
more
do
rigid now, yeah.
yeah, we do our best to hold on to that. But like, I think, we see a lot of the adults in this novel um, kind of resist the idea that the apocalypse is real and that the zombies really are happening, that these aren't just, oh, maybe they're just sick, that's
Yeah.
a common trope in the zombie apocalypse. But,
Yeah.
the
No,
adults
but
want to
it happens because
rationalize.
my parents, especially my father, he was a doctor, and whenever he got ill, he just used to think it was something simple. I mean, he almost passed away from appendicitis because he just thought it was a stomach
Gosh.
bug. So like I said, medical people they chalk things up to very simple things rather than kind of accepting what might actually be the truth. Yeah.
Right. What's that? What's that? I think it's like Occam's razor. I hope I'm saying that right. It's like if oh, sorry for my dog barking.
Okay, no problem.
It's the whole like if you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. I
Right.
think, and so like all of the adults are thinking horses, while Quinn is willing to go there and think, oh, maybe it's zebras.
Yeah.
So they've just got a little bit more imagination, more whimsy than the adults.
Mhm. Yeah. I want to talk about the actual zombie apocalypse itself because it's very familiar, but at the same time, it's very different. And I don't want to spoil anything. There's a certain things there that I've never read about or seen in the movies before, which I thought it worked so well. I'm quite curious. What were the kind of zombie tropes that you wanted to steer clear of, and what were the zombie tropes that you really wanted to have in this book?
Oh, yeah, good question. I love every zombie trope ever. Um, so I think anybody who's writing a zombie story has to make a really important decision about the type of zombies they're dealing with. Are we dealing
Hmm.
with slow or are we dealing with fast?
Yeah,
And the traditional Romero zombies, the stumbling, the slow zombies are tempting. But I went with fast zombies
yeah,
because I needed my characters to be really, really scared, and I didn't want them to be able to just walk away or even,
yeah,
casually jog away from what was happening to them. I needed urgency and I needed them to get out of Dodge. And so
yeah.
I wanted to force that. And so I went with a fast zombie. And are very strong feelings in the zombie community about
Yeah,
fast
whether
versus
fast or
slow, and
slow.
are they
Yeah.
really zombies if they move fast? And we
Uh,
could have that debate all day, but I've been a big fan of films like, 28 Days
28
Later.
Days Later, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and the remake of Dawn of the Dead, those are faster zombies.
Yeah.
So
Train to Busan's a great one as well.
Busan
Yeah. Well, that's
is so
fantastic.
good.
Yeah. And his new movie,
Yeah.
it's coming out soon. I forget the name now. Is it
Oh,
Colony? Like, no, that was the sequel. He's got a new film coming out and it looks
yeah.
fantastic. I can't
I
remember the
don't
name now.
recall the name either, but I'm
Yeah.
so excited about that.
Yeah.
But I love a fast zombie, and so I definitely went with that. Um, and I'm thinking of other, I also I'll read a good military zombie story any day, but I wanted to bring in characters that you wouldn't expect and that,
Yeah.
aren't aren't necessarily the heroes that we've come to see. So there's
Uh-huh.
no Rick Grimes type, there's no military guy type. Um, so that was kind of a trope that I steered away from. But yeah.
Uh-huh. Brilliant. Uh-huh. And is this book I mean, like I said before, you self-published these books previously, the first two.
Mhm.
Is it exactly the same as the original book, or has it been refined in any way at all?
That's a great question. So obviously it got a new title, and
Yeah.
both of them got new titles and a new cover. But the inside, I was so lucky, Howard.
Uh-huh.
I got a publisher that just really believed in this story.
Right.
Sourcebooks Fire is the one that picked me up, which is the YA imprint of Sourcebooks.
Yeah.
And my editor at Sourcebooks, Gabby, she just really grasped onto the story, and she understood what I was trying to tell. And she didn't ask me to change any of it.
Yeah.
And of course,
Right.
we went through and we found commas, and we found a couple things where
Mhm.
I think in one spot I called you put up a ponytail and you wrap around a hairband. So like, and I
Right.
called it a hairband, and she's like, maybe hair tie, because
Right.
hairband sounds like it's from, an 80s rock band. So like just
Right. Just little things.
little
Yeah.
language things like that. But everything stayed, like she even let me leave in all the F-bombs, and it's a YA
For a YA,
story.
it's a YA story, but it goes places. It goes
It
places for a YA story. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely does.
Yeah, there's some violence, gore, and language, but she let me keep it all in there. So I'm so grateful to Sourcebooks and Gabby for understanding the story and letting me tell it.
Uh-huh. You mentioned there that it's got brand new covers. I love asking authors how involved they are in the artwork for the cover. So how involved are you with this? And
I
what did you think about the
yeah.
change from the original artwork to this artwork?
Yeah. I'll be honest, I was considering a new cover anyway.
Right.
Because I don't know. Is this a video podcast? Are people gonna be able to see
Yes,
this?
video, yeah,
Yeah.
so people will see,
Yay.
yeah. So that's the way it
So
went.
yeah, this is the old cover, and it's got kind of like a painterly style, not quite cartoonish, but like,
Hmm.
it's animated. It's YA. Um, but I got so, and this is why you read the reviews. I got so many reviews that were saying like I almost didn't pick this book up because the cover looked so juvenile, but I'm glad I did because XYZ. And so I was like, oh, you know
Yeah.
what? I probably need a different cover. So I was considering it anyway. So I was very excited with the opportunity to get a new cover. Um, the being involved in the process, I know I've talked to a lot of authors who say, like, I didn't, like, I just got my cover and it was done, and I didn't, like, it didn't really matter how I felt about it. It was what it was going to be. But again, I got really lucky with Sourcebooks Fire because they sent me ideas and they asked for my input, and they gave me options to choose from, like, which road do you think we should go down. And of course, like, they were informed by, their process. But I did get some say, and I was absolutely thrilled with the final decisions that they made. And so I'm thrilled with how the new cover turned out. I had the opportunity to give a lot of feedback. I
Hmm.
know that, often the process is just, you get the cover that you get, and that's what you
Yeah.
get. But I was really grateful again to Sourcebooks for giving me options and asking for input and taking my feedback back to the group. So we got a
Uh-huh.
great cover, and it's, in the original green, and then there's a Walmart
Yeah.
special edition, and it's
All
kind
right.
of like a pink red kind of a
Yeah,
cover.
I've
So
seen
we've
that
got
one
two
as well. Yeah,
options.
it's an alternative
Yeah.
one. Yeah. Uh-huh. And are those signed? Will there be some special signed copies available?
There are signed copies available from Our Town Books, and they're the green version. Um,
Right.
and otherwise, I'm doing a kind of a mini tour,
I
and I'm
think, yeah, you're
sticking,
doing
yeah.
yeah, I've got an axe throwing book release party, I heard.
Yes, yes, Our Town Books in Jacksonville, Illinois, which is my hometown.
Right.
They're hosting an axe throwing party
Yeah.
with zombie targets and like mocktails. I'm so excited
That's
about it. It's
quite
going to
on
be a
brand. It
blast.
sounds quite on brand. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Brilliant. So where did you say that you can get the copies from, the signed copies? So I can add a link underneath the video.
Oh, sure. Our Town Books in Jacksonville, Illinois, is the one that's got all the signed copies.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll include that. Brilliant. So just to finish off, I love asking some very rapid fire questions to the authors
sure.
to see what they come up with. So I'll just finish off with those if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So, with you being a writer, an obvious question is, if your life had chapter titles, what chapter are you in now?
Oh my gosh, the exciting part. This is the most fun I have ever had in my life. I never want to do anything else.
Right.
So yeah, this would be the most exciting chapter in the whole book so
Uh-huh.
far.
You
So far.
you said that you've never wanted to do anything else in your life. So when did you actually start writing? When did you realize that you wanted to be a writer? Very young.
Gosh, I when I was little, I wanted to be an author, and I would,
Uh-huh.
glue books together and take them to school and show my
Right.
teacher. But I don't know where it got beaten out of me, but I just completely left that dream behind, and I didn't
Really?
write another word until I was in my mid 30s is when
In
I
mid-30s, really? That
finally.
long? Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I did nonfiction and academic writing for my career, but as far as storytelling, this was my first shot. And
Uh-huh.
I just fell right back in love with it.
But what got you to fall back in love with it again? Was there anything specific?
It was just sheer necessity. My
Yeah.
When my nonfiction curriculum was bought by an ed tech company, when you sell a product to someone, they expect you not to compete with them, and you agree not to produce anything that would be similar, that would,
Right.
come into competition with what you've just sold to them. And so,
Yeah.
um, I was looking down at a 5-year period where I wasn't going to be able to write in my field any
Right.
longer. And so that, early morning wake up of like, go write for 2 hours before you go to work, I just missed it. And so I thought, well, what can I
Right.
write? And of course, the zombie apocalypse is my favorite thing. And so I thought, well, I'll just give fiction a try. Let me just see what this is like. And it just
Just came
uh,
flooding back again, no? Yeah.
consumed my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Next question. So what is a mistake while you're writing this book? What's a mistake or maybe a surprise, unexpected surprise that you're secretly grateful for?
Mm. Secretly grateful for. Hmm. It's a really good question. I went down a whole rabbit hole where I made someone else a villain, and I won't
Right.
I won't say who, and I gave that person a full arc all the way to the end. And I got to the end, and I'm like, whoa, this is not right. This is wrong. I have to completely. It was like 30,000 words, Howard, that I got rid of and just started over. But I'm so grateful for making that mistake, because not only did it give me practice, like there are no wasted words. It gave me
Sure.
practice
No.
writing, and it also helped me better understand the characters that I had and helped me make better choice. I mean, this was a 3-year process. my first time writing fiction. So I had
Uh,
a lot to learn. So
yeah.
I think that
Uh,
30,000 word rabbit hole was the best mistake I could have
uh.
made.
Yeah, but it's like you said, it's like it's a rough draft, the rough draft has to be rough so that you kind of get your head around the whole universe that you're creating. So I'm guessing even though that's not what ended up in the story, it really kind of
Mhm.
helped you to understand the story on a
Yeah.
much wider scope, no?
Yeah.
Uh-huh, brilliant. What are you your own worst enemy with?
Oh man, my own worst enemy. I will get caught up in social media if I'm not careful. And what I mean by that is
A lot, like a lot of people.
yeah, for sure. But I try to, curate my social media and make sure that I'm, regularly posting about the book and giving people information and letting them know what's coming.
Hmm.
And I watch for, replies and comments and people send me direct messages and I really like it's very important to me to make sure that I answer every message that
Right.
I get and reply to the comments that come in because I really appreciate people's engagement. Like this is
Yeah.
why I get to do what I'm doing is because
Uh-huh.
kind people on the internet decided to read my book. And so
Yeah.
when someone comments, I want to comment back. When someone sends me a
No,
message, I
no,
want to
no,
send a
you
message
are because
back.
every time I share news about your posts and things, you always,
Yeah.
always say thank you for sharing. So yeah, yeah, I can tell that you're very appreciative about all those things. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. But I do appreciate like it means the world and it's why I
Sure.
get to keep writing. And so if I'm not careful, I will spend the whole day engaging with people on social media instead
Yeah.
of doing what I need to do. So that's
Doing
how I
what
am.
one doing what those people need you to do as well. They need you to write another book.
Right. Exactly.
Brilliant. So, coupled to that, what would you say too much of a control freak about when it comes to writing?
Um, I'm a very regimented and scheduled person, which can be very helpful. Like every single morning, I take my dog out, get my cup of coffee, I sit down and I write. And it makes me not a lot of fun because I'll do this every day and on the weekends
Yeah,
and
very
a
good
lot
one.
of until I get what I need to get on the page, I'm not any fun.
Right.
So this is another way that I'm my own worst enemy. Yeah.
Brilliant. And then just to finish off then, and this is it's a very loaded and open question, but what hill will you happily die on?
What hill will I happily die on? Um, I believe with all of my heart that that readers will continue to choose human authors. I think we will win.
Yeah.
I don't need to go into the details of AI and all of that debate, but I think readers will always choose stories written by humans, and I'm not afraid, and I will keep writing until I'm not allowed to anymore.
Yeah.
And until the readers stop coming. But I believe with all of my heart that that people will always choose human authored work. I will die on
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
hill.
Yeah. And I join you on that hill. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Listen, Joe, that's a great place to finish the interview. Listen, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for a great read. I can't wait to read the sequels. And I wish you the best of luck with the launch. And I hope to speak to you again next time was when the sequel comes out, or if there's something else that comes
perfect.
out before that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Howard. This has been so
Oh,
much fun.
thank
I
you.
really, really appreciate your time.
No, no, I really appreciate your time. It's been really great to talk to you. It's been lovely to meet you.
Likewise.
Great. Well, have a great day, and I will keep you. I'll keep in touch and let you know when this goes live, and I hope to speak to you again sometime soon.
Lovely.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All the
All
all the
right.
best. All the best. Have a great day, Joe. Take care of
Bye,
yourself.
you too.
Bye now.